Hey everyone, it's Carrie.mp4. Welcome or welcome back. Yes, I'm in a new space, new place, successfully moved, but it was expensive. But anyway, I have been doing things in Michigan and going to class for a month now. So what I'm going to do is give y'all 5 tips that I learned in my first month as a PhD student. Some of these might be a little bit more basic. Maybe you already know it, maybe I already knew it, but it just, was reaffirmed for me. But even so, that's important because not everyone had the same trajectory or had someone to tell them things. I can be that person. So let's get into it. So number 1 is don't limit your thinking and take a lot of notes. So it can be easy to feel like you have to stick with the topic you wrote about in your application. This may be different for someone whose field has a PI or, some other logistical infrastructure for how you get your information, who you talk to, all these sorts of things. But take what you need, leave what you don't. The question you applied with is just a part of the questions that you'll develop. So when I first came to Michigan, it felt like my possible dissertation topic could be the whole document. But now, after some good readings, one assignment with some keywords in it, and one meeting with my first year advisor, I consciously realized that what I was thinking about might only be a chapter of that dissertation. Like a part of me knew that it wasn't the whole point of what I might be getting at, but I think maybe another part of me thought that it was all I could get at because my entryway into the topic itself was from a way of thinking that I was already used to. And so if I maybe hadn't talked to my advisor, or maybe if I hadn't broached the topic, I would have spent a longer time just feeling like, oh, this is it, like that's going to be the end of that thing. And so now that I have had that conversation and I wrote notes while my advisor was talking, I got a suggestion for a book, and a suggestion for how to make something I've already written into a possible journal article. I'm thinking like, okay, like, yeah, the world has already opened up a lot more in just a few weeks. When you meet with your peers and when you meet with your professors, or you meet with maybe an area professional, it's okay to, voice some of these thoughts. You don't got to give your whole spiel away because unfortunately, I have known people who have gotten their work stolen by their seniors. So discernment. So number 2 is to do your work the way that your brain works. So before I even get into this, if you are at a school where you have health insurance, if you're in a space where you have resources, make sure that you enroll. Don't wait, because something could happen between when your school year started and open enrollment opens. You never know. So anyway, that aside, do not force yourself to have certain blocks of time where you have to work just because it seems like that's what everyone else is doing. Who is everyone else? A lot of times when it seems like everyone else is doing something, we haven't even honed in on who this everyone else is. It's just like an invisible everyone. Who is that? It's no one, because we're not actually thinking about who we think is doing better. We just have this idea of what the workday looks like. So we're like, oh, this is what I do. But you're not in a space where your workday has to look like that all the time. So if you are someone who, you're caught in the loop of scrolling and nothing's even making you laugh or making you think or even making you cry. Some people look for emotional videos just to let off a little bit of tears, but nothing's making you have any of these happy or sad responses that you're looking for. Try getting up and maybe doing some stretches, cleaning those dishes you left in the sink, cleaning up your work area, taking a lap around the floor of whatever office you're in, a quick look outside to see the sun. You're forcing yourself to sit and sit and sit, pushing for hours of productivity, and nothing's happening just because in your head that's what the 9 to 5 looks like. It's not helpful. It's a hit to your self-esteem And it opens the door for negative self-thoughts that are going to build and build and build. And then November is going to come around. You're going to realize everything's due the week after Thanksgiving. And you feel like you've done nothing the whole semester. To a degree, that can be avoided. So as much as is in your control, get up when you need to get up. If you work better from 4 to 10 and then you take a nap and then you go to class, that's what you need to do. If you work better 5 to 9, that's what you need to do. Obviously, sleep is important and your circadian rhythm is important, but I can't yell at you about your circadian rhythm, because the alternative to you doing work the way your brain works, I'm telling you to do something that's not working for you when I don't have an alternative for you. Why would I do that? So obviously, sleep is important. Circadian rhythm is important. But the alternative to doing things how you can do them is to have a circadian rhythm that is messed up because you didn't get anything done and now you're anxious about it. And it's still not done and you're still sleepy. So do your work the way your brain works. Of course, there will be times where you have to do things the regular 9 to 5 way or whatever hours your department holds. But if you have the freedom to do things the way your brain works, if you have the ability to get accommodations and you're comfortable, sharing those things with the institution, if you have access to a doctor, to a specialist, to whatever the case may be, and they can say, yeah, you work better in these chunks of time. You can do this, you can do that. Yeah, let's do that sleep apnea study to make sure that when you do go to sleep, you're getting better sleep. Taking a melatonin, taking magnesium, drinking some chamomile, drinking some soursop tea. You don't have to force your body to act like everyone else's body. Who is everyone else? Because at the end of the day, those everyone else's also do things to make their days better. Number 3, introduce yourself to people. So once again, I had just spoken to my first year advisor, and he had told me, part of being in this space, this academic space, isn't just meeting people in the network of your field directly, but also learning how to be a professional in general and how to talk across these spaces as well. You won't, make instant friends with everyone, nor do you need to. And maybe you won't be on their team for such and such a project or be in everyone's article for such and such a journal, but you build these sorts of connections and you also start to feel like you have a spot in this space, both physical and emotional, mentally speaking. And then on the flip side, sometimes you realize as you talk to more people or as time passes, this is not a place that you need to be. Discernment. And so sometimes people are just stuck because they never talk to anybody. How do you know this person? How do you do that? You never talk to anyone. You never share your ideas and your confusions about the work with anyone. Speaking of talking to people, there's like a subgenre. And of course, some of this is a little bit of a performance because it's uploaded to the internet, right? But there is a subgenre of graduate students talking about how they cannot make friends. They don't have any friends. It's been a semester. They don't have anyone they feel like they could casually say, let's go get smoothies or whatever the case may be. There are instances where people really just don't gel, but there are also instances where in the videos, you see the person say, I go to class, I go home, I don't talk to anyone. I don't go to events. I don't go to the discounted or free events I get with my student ID. But I'm so lonely, I don't have any friends. Grad school is killing me. There are a lot of things that can stress you out. Like I'm pretty sure I am falling into a depressive episode right now. Yes, I talk to people. Yes, that still can happen. However, had I been sequestering myself, I would feel worse right now. I probably wouldn't even be filming this video, let's be real. So talk to people, not only because we need to interact with other people as people, but because you learn how to be a professional. You learn how to hone those public speaking skills. You learn, oh, I get nervous when I do this. I get nervous talking to my professors, honestly, but I still have to do it. It's something that's a practice. I'm learning about my cohort mates, and I'm learning about the more advanced cohorts. I'm learning things about the school in general, and it's enjoyable and it's part of life. And so, you think you don't want to ask questions. You don't want to introduce yourself to people. It is a practice of refinement to be able to go up to someone and just speak. Now, I have really bad anxiety. I'm also an extrovert. So sometimes those two parts kind of battle in my head. But every day there's something that scares me just a little bit. I still do it. And sometimes those things become less scary over time. Sometimes they don't. I still do them. Or I put myself in an environment where I don't have to do those things. And for the most part, many of the things that in my head the first few times scared me, I now feel more comfortable doing, or I learned a lesson about. Now, I'm not saying all y'all who watch this video have anxiety, but I'm saying that it is a common enough feeling, if not condition, that it's something we all have to practice. Introducing ourselves to people, talking to people who aren't our direct peers. How do I find them? Graduate clubs. I've gone to events. I've met new people. I've seen them at another event. They've remembered me. We squealed and held hands. No, we're not besties yet, but we look out for each other at these events now. It's only been a month. Number 4, you want to ask other students questions. Now, if your advanced cohort is not very welcoming or not very forthcoming, I have heard of that being the case, then this might be difficult and you might just have to, find someone specific to talk to, or just, find things out over time, or get used to not finding things out. But I hope that's not your experience. Senior students are a wealth of resources. And to some degree, we already know this because we've gone to school before grad school. They're not just people who know, oh, this department is more helpful than this department for this question. Or this place has a discount on Thursdays. They have a happy hour. You can get this and this, $10. Or, oh, I save money by going to this place every third Wednesday. They will know those things, but they also have perspectives of the department that the professors will not have, that the administrators will not have. They might have a book that you can borrow, because they already took the class that piqued their interest on a topic, or maybe it's relevant to their qualifying exam and they've already read it, so you can borrow it for a week. All sorts of things. Don't be losing people's books, by the way. These books are not cheap. And, maybe they have been to a conference you're thinking of going to. Just, what was it like to apply? Did they reply back quickly? How did you feel? Even down to accommodations. This scholarship, award, stipend, whatever, covers $1,000 toward travel. How much over that did you have to spend out of your own pocket when you were there? How much was the food on average, do you think? The professors aren't going to have the same perspective on this because they do not make the same type of money that you make on your stipend. They make more.
Hopefully.
And so, the professor will also know there are these awards. There's this travel fund, They know about the $1,000. They're not going to have, oh, I found that in the city there's a lot of this brand, and so I did this and I did that, and I only ended up spending like $100 on food over X number of days, and it was great. They're not necessarily going to have the same perspective because they're not necessarily eating at the same places or eating with the same people who are their peers. To those professors, y'all are like junior colleagues, so they're not necessarily having the same perspective. Of course, they've been through it, but prices are different, let's be real. So talk to other students. Students may also have thoughts about your qualifying exams. This is something, my first year advisor was saying, because I was asking not that I think that I'm behind in thinking about qualifying exams. I'm not behind in thinking about that. I just got here, but just, divulging the fact that I feel a little out of sorts of what that could look like for me and what each section of the qualifying exam could be. I have these interests, and I have what I've already written for my thesis, and I have the classes I'm in now and how those might go together. But to put that on paper as certain topics and to go from there is a little bit alien to me. And he said, other students have done that. That's something you can maybe ask about. Now, when you're talking to other students, you don't necessarily want to take up all their time, and you don't want to infringe on any senses of privacy they may have about their own projects. But there's definitely questions you can ask depending on who's in your your department. They may be more forthcoming. If you have a buddy in a field that's similar, you can also ask them. You can also cold email people. It's a little bit nerve-wracking because you're like, what if they don't reply? What if they're like, who is this? But you can cold email people. That's what the emails are there for. They may not reply to you today, they may not reply to you tomorrow, but hopefully within that week, they do reply to you. Because these students aren't just there to be your classmate. They're also a part of your network. And finally, number 5. Now more than ever, I think we need to touch grass, and we need to have a sense of humility. It can be exciting and overwhelming to have a lot of new information thrown at us on a consistent basis, especially if we've come out of a sustained break or a 9 to 5 where, you close your laptop down and you're done. Or even maybe you were in a completely different field and you switched over to a new one for this degree. Any number of things could have happened. Could be coming from one country to another country. There are expectations placed on you. There's information thrown at you. At some point, something's a little bit confusing. External factors unrelated to schooling in general. I had a relative pass away the day before my semester started. Sometimes you need to go outside, and sometimes you need to take a break, and that break cannot just be scrolling on your phone. There are unprecedented levels of too much time on the phone going on right now, so your break cannot always be going on the phone. I am getting into sculpting. That's something I don't need the computer screen for. Even if I never make a little bowl, a little mask, I never paint a little jewelry tray. Even if I never do that, and I just sit there for 30 minutes and just and then go take a nap, that's something that you need to do. You can pick up an instrument. Do not go buying a whole expensive kit if you really don't think you're going to practice. You can pick up an instrument. If you have a gaming console, I probably don't need to tell you that you can play games on it. Any number of birding. There's people who like to go look at birds. There's quite a number of birds inside my complex. They're always chirping. There's a botanical garden somewhere around. All sorts of things that you can get into. If you're in a rural area, you might run out of things a little bit faster, but you never know. You may just not know what's going on. If you're in a more metropolitan area, just keep going to new little pockets. Find new places. You don't have to take the whole day to do it because you have responsibilities. But there are things that can be done. Watch a movie you never thought you would watch. Start that series you said you were going to start. Me dragging myself. There's all sorts of things to do. There's so many sports to watch. My school's a big football school. Lots of people get those tickets. Hockey, soccer, basketball, gymnastics, tennis. What is rowing? All sorts of sports at different schools. So that's something else you can do. You can also get involved in the sports teams if you have time. Community sports leagues. You need to close the laptop, close the paperback, close the hardback sometimes. I'm sorry, y'all, we cannot just be taking breaks on our phones. There's unprecedented levels of spending too much time on the phone going on in various ways. And I don't want anybody who's watching this video to get caught up in that fray, okay? Now, onto the sense of humility. Let me just say this. There's nothing wrong with trying your best. However, sometimes your best requires a break in between. And sometimes that break is not about the tiredness of your brain or the tiredness of your body, but it's just to remind yourself that you are not made of steel and you are not infallible. You're never, too good to learn. Now, we should believe in our abilities, and at those times where we're wrestling with like disbelief, we should figure out what's going on and try to help ourselves, or reach out to a community, reach out to a specialist, and get that help we might need. However, it hasn't happened much, thankfully, but there has been a point where I've met someone so immovable in their opinions, or should I say more their openness to listening to the fact that there are other sides to what is being said. And this is not some, fake debate. This is not some, oh, you're so, no, like we're having serious discussion and you're immovable. And it's like when you get to a certain point of that sort of character, it does beg the question a little bit of why are you here? Putting yourself into these spaces where these conversations happen, if you're unwilling to listen, if you're unwilling to acknowledge the growing knowledge or growing expertise of your peers, of your colleagues, and if you literally just don't listen to what other people are saying, And I don't think this person, these people are necessarily bad people or a whole field is like this. It's just a sort of characteristic that you may take on that really impedes your ability to talk with and to exchange information and ideas with your peers. And I don't want anyone who's watching this video to get to that point. Of course, respect your expertise. Maybe you were in industry for 30 years and then you came back to get your doctorate. Cool, you know a lot. You're still here. And things have changed in those 30 years. So you have all this breadth of knowledge in this one way, and someone else has a breadth of knowledge in this other way. You guys can talk. You don't even have to agree, but you guys should be able to have a good, deep, complex, and nuanced conversation. And I've just noticed that some people literally cannot get in their heads to do that. And I think that alongside this idea of I always got to be on, I always got to be on, I always got to be on, really don't add up to a positive picture. So those are the 5 things that I wanted to share, and I hope that they are of use to you. I hope that your semester is going well, and I think that's all I gotta say about this. If there's anything specific that y'all would like me to make about being a doctoral student, let me know. Maybe I can make a video about that as time goes on and I also get more experience. I know there's somebody in here who is probably looking for a health update, and maybe they were skipping through just to see if I would mention it. I don't have anything to mention yet. When I do, then I'll, make something about that. But for now, once again, it's carried out MP4 and I gotta go. Bye.